folks, welcome to the Drop Jaw Flies fly tying tutorial. Today what we've got for you is the pinhead. We're going to tie a fly using this little guy. It's the smallest head in our lineup, and it's produced for us. We caught some really nice fish with it, and it's very easy and quick to tie. And the pattern that we're going to tie today is just the pinhead, and we're going to call it olive. And you can purchase these heads in an olive, a black, rust color, and great little head to tie a fly with. So let's get started. Let's jump in. The hook that we're going to use today is the 8089 from TMCO. Number 6, and you can buy or purchase whatever hook you want to tie your pattern with the pinhead, but today we're going to use the 8089 number 6. So, thread. Of course you can use whatever thread you want, but we're going to use this 70 from UTC in a 10, and it's a great little thread for these small patterns. It's got plenty of strength. Doesn't take up much bulk, and it's great for tying in small material, small quantities. So we'll just get that on there. As you can see, I'm used to using the heavy duty stuff, and it's probably going to break this a couple more times. Suck this up the tube here. Get this back on. Have to be careful with this fine thread. Slow down a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to use for the top part of our minnow is this piece of chartreuse colored squirrel. And there's still a lot of brown in there. It's good looking stuff. So I'm just going to cut off the piece that I want to use, and I'm going to pull back the fibers right there so that I don't cut them, and then I'm going to trim the end of this just a little bit more so that those fibers can overhang the back piece of the leather. Now typically what you would do when you use any type of strip, leather, rabbit strip, especially squirrel or rabbit, you're going to kind of overhang the back of the hook about the length of the shank. And I'm going to go maybe just a little bit longer on this one because I want a ton of movement back here. Usually the fish just eat the whole thing on these smaller patterns, so I'm going to make it just a little bit longer. Measure that out. Then I'll make a cut here because I had a little bit of more of this than I needed. So I'm going to bring my thread back to the back of this hook, right where I want to tie this in, just as it starts to slope off the back. Then I'm going to part this squirrel, even wet it just a little bit so that I can cleanly see the part. And I'm going to make a wrap, not a tight one, a loose one, another loose one, and then snug that up. And that way the torque of the thread doesn't want to move that piece of squirrel off to the other side of the hook. And I've got it just where I want it, right there. And now what I'm going to do is take a couple wraps around the back of this squirrel to try and secure it just a little bit more. There we go. And then I'll finish wrapping that right there. The other thing we're going to do is take a little bit of this brushable super glue, and I'm just going to put a little dab right there. And that way that rabbit can bond to the thread that I just wrapped right there. I'm sorry, the squirrel. Poor little squirrel gave up his life for this, probably. Okay, now we're going to take some of this diamond braid right there. This is awesome stuff, really easy to work with. I don't need very much. I'm going to get that ready. And I want this fly to have a little bit of action. You know that weight can give you some diving action. And so this is going to be hard to see, but this is a small, round tungsten weight. And I'm going to take this and flip this upside down, and I'm going to put it about 1/4 of an inch back behind the eye of the hook. And we're going to wrap this on, get it on there pretty securely, and that'll give us a little bit of weight to get us down below the surface. And as we strip this back or barely jig it or whatever we want to do, it'll add a little bit of weight to that fly. And of course we're going to come back with our glue, really get that anchored on there. And while the glue is still wet, we're going to wrap in this diamond braid, and I'm going to start right in front of that weight. I'll wrap it right up underneath the shank of the hook, just like that. It's on there. Then we'll begin to wind this. You can wrap it over itself if you'd like. There's no hard and fast rules about how you want to wrap it, how thick you want to do it. We'll bring it right in front of that weight. Tie this off. These are fun for me to tie because usually I'm tying the multi-hooked, triple articulated flies, and they take quite a bit of time, and this one doesn't. And I'm not really that particular about how this one looks. This one is meant to just get eaten. It's not to impress anybody, that's for sure. Okay, so we've got that done. Now what we want to do is we want to put a little bit of white underbelly under there. So I'm going to take some of these white synthetic fibers, and you could use any type of white fiber or cream fiber, whether it's synthetic or natural or any type of marabou or feathers. I'm just going to take that and bend it over my thread about the length that I want, and I'm going to run it right down the thread to where I want to anchor it, make some wraps, and then I'll wrap over that and secure. And if for you guys to see, I'm going to cut it just a little bit past the bend of the hook, right there, and clean up any loose pieces that might be there. And then we're going to do one more, that same type of wrap. I'm going to do it right in front of that one, and this is to bulk up the bottom of that head just a little bit. Cut that right there. Now, just as a test fit, let's just go ahead and slide this head on. See how we're doing. That's going to fit great. And we've got our fiber that's coming out the bottom, just to give it a little bit of white underbelly, just like the little minnows have. Okay, I'm going to pull that off, and I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to make this part the thickest. So I double my material over, run it right to where I want to. I'm going to wrap it right in front of the eye this time, right behind the eye. And I'll trim up any loose fibers. Okay, there we go. That's on there. Now let's get our top of our squirrel, our top of our minnow squared and secured. Lift up the top and give that some wraps of thread, and that's on there. Now going to add a little bit of flash to this, because this is the fun part, adding the flash, right? And what we're going to use is, I've been using this on almost every pattern, and it's Senyo's Barred Predator Wrap, and he has this in a bunch of different colors. This happens to be just the black. It looks like pepper, and it does have some UV in it. I love it. It flows so nice in the water, and it has just a really cool look to it. So I'm going to put that right down the side, facing me. I'm going to go a couple wraps right behind the squirrel, and I'm going to take a wrap right in front of the squirrel's head. And then what I'm going to do is take the other side and wrap it around the bottom of the eye, give that some wraps, and then wrap it behind that clump of squirrel that we initially secured, where we initially secured that squirrel. And I'm going to cut this right there. Just let it overhang that bend of the hook just a little bit. That way, if these fibers, while they're swimming, if they get trapped behind there, it's pretty easy for them to come out. But I do like a little extra length there. And just for a little bit more flash, this is totally not necessary, but I'm going to take some gold angel hair. And you just grab as much as you want. I'm going to take that amount right there. And we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to tie this in right at the top of the squirrel. And we're going to make a couple wraps, and then bring the thread forward and secure it right in front of the squirrel, right behind the eye. And then we're going to wrap it, the angel hair, underneath the eye of the hook, wrap it, and then take it and secure it right at the top of the squirrel, right at the top of the squirrel leather, to be exact. And that is about it. What we'll do is we'll give this some whip finish, and I don't really have to do much of that. This thing is going to be really easy to secure. Whip it. And then what we're going to do is, of course, just glue the heck out of this thing. That's not going to go anywhere. I'll let that dry just for a second. Now the glue that I use to secure all these heads, and if you want, you can, you use whatever you want to glue the heads with, but once you put this on, you go around the head and you secure your drop jaw fly head right over the top of it. It's not going to go anywhere. You can build a thread dam at the end of the mouth if you like, if that, if you're makes you feel better or whatever, but I don't do it. This glue is so good that it's just not necessary. But what I'm going to do is put a bead right there, right on top of the squirrel, and then right there on top of our white fibers. And again, you could use marabou or whatever you want. I like those fibers. It's easier to clean the moss out of. I love marabou too, but we use just some synthetic fiber today. Now, I always put my heads on upside down. That way I can see that the bottom of the throat is lining up with the shank of the hook. And so I'm going to make sure I've got a nice bead of that E6000 glue all the way around. And then I got it lined up, and we'll push it so it's totally centered. And when you put that head on, it will make that force your fibers more to go in line with the hook. And you're going to have a little bit of squeeze out right here at the top and right there at the bottom. If you take your scissors and just kind of roll that up, you'll clean that up. Do the same thing on top. It's okay if it goes over just a little bit. There's no harm in getting that on the squirrel. And just wipe your scissors off. And we've got ourselves a pinhead. And Chad and I have caught some way nice fish on this already. This is a great little pattern. It's easy to throw with a 4-weight or a 3-weight if you want. You, take some of these with you on those small high mountain creeks and lakes. And even in the big rivers, if you're floating, you throw this next to the bank and you don't have to really strip it. You can just barely move it along the side of the bank and see what happens. So I'd encourage all of you, get some of these, try them out, and always have fun on your trips out there, and remember to stick them solid.